You want answers?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended Shaolin Temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant. I've been thinking about this for the past week or so since Charlie Sheen has blown up on Twitter and become all the rage. He's now got over 2 million followers on Twitter. He did a Ustream show and got 100 million views. So, you know, I'm, of course, in awe with my 2,300 followers and just topped 1 million views in 14 months here on the show. So, of course, I'm in awe that Charlie Sheen is winning. And it's been interesting watching the media discussions of this and just the general public's discussion of this. Some people saying, you know, Charlie Sheen's a train wreck. Of course, he just got fired from his show, 2.5 Men with CBS. But I wanted to come out here in defense of Tiger Blood. And this is kind of a serious thing to me because I really believe that in this country, we have gotten into this paradigm of believing that rehab, some sort of drug rehab, is the cure-all for people who may have gotten into problems with drugs. And I think we've also gotten into this idea that drug use is just inherently bad. I'm going to tell you a few secrets here, folks. There are a lot of people who do drugs, and I'm not talking just cannabis, but do drugs, cocaine, heroin, meth, ecstasy, LSD, who do them recreationally and do not have a problem. It's true. Not everyone who does drugs is a drug abuser. I have friends that I know who are recreational meth users. Every now and then, every 18 months or so, they'll go on a tweak bend and just, you know, be up for 5 days geeking out, and then they're back to real life, and then they're back to doing their jobs. I have friends I know who have used cocaine on numerous occasions and had fun doing the cocaine and then went back to work the next week and just lived their lives, lived their regular lives. I even know people who are friends with heroin addicts who are functional, who have jobs, who have lives that they live, and they will admit that they have to have their heroin, they're addicted to it, but they manage to function and live their lives. And what I'm afraid of here in this country, and especially with respect to marijuana, is that we've come to this idea that that marijuana use is bad, that using cannabis is bad, people caught with it should do rehab. It's a play that we've seen played out many times in the media landscape. You know, of course, we go to Michael Phelps. You know, Michael Phelps wins 8 gold medals, gets caught smoking a bong, and has to come out and do this huge mea culpa and gets dropped by Kellogg's and all of this. And we've seen it with numerous sports stars that get busted. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll go to rehab. I'll get treatment. And nobody ever stands up and just says, you know what? No, I liked smoking weed. I just won 8 gold medals. I mean, I see my life seems to be in order. I seem to be handling my responsibilities just fine. Leave me alone. And that's part of what I think is driving this Charlie Sheen phenomenon, is that there's a large segment of people who have gotten tired of the same old, I made mistakes were made, I'm going to rehab line that we see all the time. And here's someone who's just looked at his life and said, you know what, I like my life. I like what I'm doing. Other people may think it's out of control, a little bit wacky, but it's working for me. Now, this is not to justify any of the things Charlie Sheen has done. I've said this before, you know, domestic violence and getting violent is something I do not tolerate whatsoever. But let's look at things from Charlie Sheen's perspective for a second. You know, he's been working all his life, been in major films that won major awards. He's gotten millions of dollars per episode of the TV shows he's been on. I'm sure he's doing fine as far as bankroll goes. If he got fired from Warner Brothers, so what? He's probably got plenty of money to be living in retirement for the rest of his life, having fun with porn stars, blowing 7-gram rocks, and hanging out at the Sober Valley Lodge. And what's the problem with that? In America, I believe that we need to have freedom in this country, and part of that freedom is accepting that some people will do drugs and may ruin their lives by doing so. But we are not at all entitled as a society to compel people to stop using drugs. Let me repeat that. I do not believe in a free society we have the right to compel people to stop using drugs. Rehab needs to be a choice in this country and not a sentence. We see this with the drug sentencing that we see, these drug courts. This is the new thing, well, not so new, but the new mantra of the Obama administration is treatment, not jail. We're going to send people to treatment. Well, it's just a gilded cage, right? If you're forced to have to go there, you're just having to go into another type of cage. Rehab is for people who realize they have a problem and want to change. It's the old joke of the psychologist. How many psychologists take to change a light bulb? One, but the bulb has to want to change. And by doing this mandatory sentencing into drug rehabs for people who are caught with a baggie of weed or other drugs in some circumstances, is just another form of incarceration. And having a drug or doing a drug in and of itself is not criminal. It is not immoral. Now, if someone does drugs and commits a crime, beats up a girlfriend, trashes a hotel room, for example, or, drives a car, wrecks a car, behaves inappropriately, causes problems, then someone can be punished for their actions. Then someone can be punished for their crimes. But if someone just happens to like to blow 7-gram rocks in his own Malibu mansion, where he can be behind closed doors and not harming anyone, making videos on Ustream, let's let him. Go ahead, man. It is your life. It is your life to live. If a man has a right to go to heaven in the way of his own choosing, he has a right to go to hell in the manner of his own choosing. I believe Hugh Hefner said that. I'm not exactly sure. I'll probably stole that quote from somewhere. But the point is, this is part of why the Charlie Sheen phenomenon is so taking America by storm. Really, what evidence does Charlie Sheen have to indicate that he's not winning? They've continued to pay him. They continue to give him money. He continues to get away with things that if his name were Tyrone Washington, he'd be in prison right now for. So from Charlie Sheen's perspective, of course he believes he's winning. And then for the people who, like me, are enjoying watching Charlie Sheen and getting involved with this and do the little tisk-tisk and cluck-cluck and shaking their fingers like, oh, how terrible, enabling the addict and enabling... The man is choosing to go the direction he wishes to go. And he is living his life as a public entertainer. And he knows, regardless if he's having problems or whatever you want to judge it or characterize it as, he is choosing to do so. He's choosing to be in the public spotlight. We are not chasing after him with paparazzi do chase after him, I'm sure, but those of us who are enjoying this are enjoying what he's giving through Twitter, what he's giving through Ustream. This is not taking advantage of someone when they themselves wish to broadcast it. So let's, in this country, recognize that freedom is messy sometimes. That freedom means tolerating some things and choices by people that we ourselves may not agree with. And that it means that some people who might be more famous or in positions we might call role models will make mistakes and do things that we may not approve of. But that's what freedom is all about. And to make the judgment that any use of a drug is something that must be stopped at all costs is dangerous to our democracy and it's dangerous to our civil liberties. Again, most people who use drugs do not have an addiction problem with them. Most people, we accept readily the use of alcohol in the society, for which the addiction rates and the harm to society can be shown to be much greater than any or all of the illegal drugs combined. We readily accept that. We do not characterize people who like to drink as somehow having a moral failing or as somehow committing some sort of crime. We recognize that people that get way drunk and are publicly belligerent or violent or drive their cars and wreck their cars, we recognize those are crimes. We recognize that a certain subset of people can become alcoholics and that this can be problematic for them. And we offer them AA and we offer them treatment. But if we can accept that in our society, if we can accept the most dangerous drug, alcohol, there's no reason for us to be demonizing the people who are using the other drugs. And if Charlie Sheen wants to live a rock star life from Mars and be a warlock with F-14 poetry coming out of his fingertips, by God, I'm going to be there enjoying it too. Winning, duh. Thanks for joining us here at Normal Show Live. I'm Radical Russ. For Gun to John and Cannabis Carrie, we will be back tomorrow with another podcast. For those of you listening live, stay tuned for Hour 2, Toker Talk Radio. Got some more news, a story out of New York I just got to talk about, and we'll take a look at some other stuff and listen to some great music, too. Stick around as Toker Talk Radio, plus your calls at 971-533-7111. And until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.